I never liked her from the very first day. She stood at the doorway of my home in Gaki, Abuja, with a small bag in her hand, her wrapper neatly tied, and her eyes lowered like a servant. She was introduced to me as a nanny, one of those women from the village who had no choice but to work in other people's houses to survive. I didn't bother asking her name that day. To me, she was just another face, another stranger paid to clean, cook, and watch over my son while I attended to more important things. I was too busy chasing promotions at the bank, hosting clients at fancy dinners, and trying to maintain a perfect image in the high-class world of Abuja society. My husband, Michael, insisted that I should accept her because she was cheap and trustworthy. He said he had found her through a family friend. But from the very beginning, I disliked her quietness. She moved like a shadow in the house, always bowing her head, always taking orders without complaint. I would snap at her for mistakes, even when they were not her fault. If the soup was too salty, I would pour it out and order her to start again. If my son's uniform had a stain on it, I would yell at her, even though the boy himself had spilled juice on it. If Michael came home late, I would find something wrong with the nanny's work, just to release the anger boiling inside me. Yet she never raised her voice. She would simply bow her head and say, "I am sorry, madam." That humility only made me despise her more. There was something about her face too, wrinkles that seemed to carry a story, eyes that looked as though they had cried more than they had laughed. I didn't care to know her past. To me, she was just the nanny. But looking back now, I realized everything changed that night. It was a Saturday evening. Michael had traveled to Port Harcourt for a business meeting, leaving me alone with our 6-year-old son, Junior. I had gone out to attend a wedding reception at Sheraton Hotel and returned late, exhausted and tipsy from champagne. The nanny was still awake, sitting quietly in the living room with Junior asleep on her lap. That sight annoyed me. "Why is he sleeping here?" I snapped. "Didn't I tell you to put him in his room? What kind of useless nanny leaves a child on a sofa like this?" She flinched, carefully carried Junior in her arms, and began walking toward his room. But her hands trembled slightly, and her wrapper slipped as she adjusted him. For a moment, a strange thought crossed my mind. Why did she hold him so tenderly, as if he was her own blood? I brushed that thought aside. The following week, things took a strange turn. One afternoon, I came home earlier than usual. I had a headache and left the office before closing time. As I pushed open the front door, I heard a sound that froze me in my tracks. The nanny was in the kitchen, weeping. She thought the house was empty, so she didn't hide her tears. She sat on the small wooden stool by the sink, clutching a necklace in her hand. From the doorway, I could see it, a small golden locket. Something about it looked familiar. Curiosity pulled me closer. I stepped in and snatched it from her hand. She gasped but didn't fight me. Inside the locket was a tiny, faded photograph of a young man. My heart skipped a beat. It was Michael, my husband's picture, smiling in his university days, before I had even met him. I turned sharply to face her. "Where did you get this?" Her lips trembled, but she didn't answer. I shouted louder. I said, "Where did you get this necklace?" She opened her mouth as if to speak, but closed it again. Tears streamed down her cheeks. At that moment, something hot and furious rose in me. How dare Nanny have something so personal belonging to my husband? My mind spun with ugly possibilities. Was she his mistress? Did he plant her in my house to spy on me? Was it some old lover from his past now cruising back into his life disguised as a nanny? My hands shook as I threw the locket back at her. "You are a shameless woman. I knew there was something wrong with you. Tomorrow morning you are leaving my house. Pack your things." She fell to her knees, clutching my feet, her tears wetting the tiles. "Please, madam, don't send me away, I beg you." Her voice cracked like glass, and for the first time, I heard something raw in it. A pain deeper than poverty, deeper than humiliation. But I didn't care. "You will leave," I shouted, shaking her off. "I don't want you near my son again." That night, I couldn't sleep. My anger refused to calm. I tossed and turned, staring at Michael's side of the bed, empty because of his trip. I wanted to call him, to demand answers about the locket, but I stopped myself. I didn't want him to know I was insecure over a mere nanny. The next morning, before I could confront her again, something unexpected happened. Junior woke up with a high fever. His body was hot to the touch, his lips dry, his small chest rising and falling too quickly. Panic gripped me. I rushed to get my car keys, but a nanny stepped forward. "Let me carry him, madam. I know what to do." I almost slapped her. "Are you crazy? You're not a doctor. Move out of the way." But Junior moaned weakly, reaching his little hand toward her instead of me. My heart twisted painfully, but I let her take him. She placed him gently on her lap, humming a soft lullaby. I froze. I had heard that song before. It was the same lullaby Michael told me his mother used to sing for him when he was a boy. A song in their dialect, soft and haunting, with words I barely understood. The nanny's voice shook as she sang, tears slipping down her cheeks and dropping on Junior's forehead. Something inside me snapped. "Who are you really?" I whispered, my throat dry. She looked up at me then, eyes red and swollen, but holding a strange strength. "I am not just a nanny, madam," she said softly. "I am your mother-in-law." The world around me seemed to collapse. I staggered back, gripping the wall for balance. My mouth opened, but no words came out. My mother-in-law? But Michael had told me she was dead long ago. He had told me she passed before he finished university. My hands trembled, my ears rang, my heart pounded so loud I could barely hear her next words. "They told you I was gone, but I have been here, watching, waiting, carrying the shame of secrets you do not know." I felt my entire body go cold.
I wanted to scream, but my voice refused to come out. My lips parted, trembling, yet no words escaped. The room spun around me as her words echoed in my ears. "I am your mother-in-law." Impossible! It couldn't be true. I took a step back, staring at her as though she had just grown horns. My mind raced. Michael's mother? The woman he swore was long dead? The woman whose funeral he had told me about? The one he said he never forgave for abandoning him as a child? My breath came in quick bursts. You're lying," I finally whispered, though even to my own ears, my voice sounded weak. She didn't move. She sat on the sofa with my son lying on her lap, her thin fingers brushing his forehead with the kinds of love I had never seen in her before. Her eyes carried the weight of sorrow, but they were steady, not the eyes of a liar. "Why would I lie, madame?" she asked softly. "Do you think I enjoy scrubbing your floors? Do you think I chose to hide who I am?" My knees threatened to give way, so I sat heavily on the nearest chair, my hands pressed against my chest to hold my pounding heart. "But Michael told me you died. He told me his mother was gone before he even finished university." Her lips trembled as if the words themselves cut her. "He told you that because he hates me, because he never forgave me for the choices I made. He wanted to erase me from his life, so he buried me in his heart long before my body was meant to be buried." Her voice broke on the last word, and she covered her face briefly before lowering her hands again. I stared at her, disbelief and anger twisting inside me. "So all this while, you've been here in my house, pretending to be a nanny? Watching me scold you? Watching me treat you like dirt? And you didn't say a word?" Her eyes glistened with tears. "What would you have done if I told you on the first day? Would you have believed me, or would you have thrown me out faster than you did yesterday?" My mouth opened, but no sound came. She was right. I would have thrown her out. I would never have believed her. Junior stirred weakly, letting out a small cough, and she adjusted him carefully. The tenderness in her touch made something sharp stab my chest. "Why are you here?" I demanded, my voice rising. "Why did you come into my house? What do you want from me? From Michael?" For the first time, I saw a flicker of steel in her eyes. She was no longer just the weak, trembling nanny I thought she was. "I came here because I had to. Because there are things you do not know, things Michael himself does not know. And if I do not stay close, the truth will destroy all of you." The room fell silent. I could hear the ticking of the wall clock, the faint sound of traffic outside, but inside, it felt as though time had stopped. "What truth?" I asked, though part of me dreaded the answer. She didn't reply immediately. Instead, she looked down at Junior, brushing his hair back, whispering softly in a dialect I barely understood. The lullaby again. The one Michael once said belonged to his childhood. When she looked up, her voice was heavy. Do you know why Michael never takes you to his village? Why he avoids speaking about his family? Why he refuses to celebrate certain traditions? I frowned. I had always asked him, but he brushed it off with vague answers. He said he grew up with pain, that his father was a hard man, that I stopped, realizing my mistake, that his mother abandoned him. Tears rolled down her cheeks. That is what he believes. That is what he wants to believe. But the truth is darker, much darker. She paused, her voice shaking. I did not abandon him. I was forced to leave. I was chased away by his father's people because of something I discovered, something I could not keep silent about. Her words hit me like stones. My mouth went dry. What did you discover? Before she could answer, my phone rang sharply, making me jump. It was Michael. My hands trembled as I answered, "Hello?" His voice was calm on the other end. I just landed back in Abuja. I'll be home in 30 minutes. How is Junior? I glanced at the woman, the nanny, the mother-in-law, the stranger who had just turned my world upside down. She was staring at me with desperate eyes. He's fine, I stammered, just resting. Michael sighed with relief. Good. I'll see you soon. The line went dead. I lowered the phone slowly. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. She leaned closer, her voice urgent now. You cannot tell him yet, she whispered. Not until I explain. If you tell him now, he will throw me out. He will never hear me. And if he does not hear me, all of you will be in danger. My breath caught. Danger? What kind of danger? Her hands gripped the edge of the chair, knuckles white. The kind of danger that killed his father. My whole body went cold. Michael had told me his father died in an accident on the farm, but the way she said it, the way her voice trembled, told me it was no accident. Before I could ask more, I heard the sounds of a car pulling into the driveway. My chest tightened. Michael was home. She stood quickly, carrying Junior in her arms. Her eyes pleaded with me, wide and wet. Please, madame, for your son's sake, do not tell him yet. Let me stay. Let me explain everything when the time is right. I was torn in half. Part of me wanted to scream the truth the moment Michael walked through the door, to expose her, to demand answers from him. But another part of me, a part I didn't understand, felt the weight of her desperation and the fear in her trembling voice. The front door opened. Michael stepped in, tall and confident as always, his suitcase in hand. His eyes softened when he saw Junior in her arms, and he smiled faintly. Thank you, Nanny, he said warmly. You've been a great help. She lowered her head quickly, hiding her tears. And at that moment, I realized something terrifying. I was now carrying a secret that could either destroy my marriage or save it. But before I could decide what to do, Michael looked at me sharply, his voice carrying suspicion. Amaka, what's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. And in truth, maybe I had. Michael's eyes narrowed as he studied my face. His question still hung in the air like smoke. What's wrong? You look like you've seen a ghost. I forced a weak smile, my hands tightening around the edge of my dress. My throat was dry and every nerve in my body screamed with tension. The woman, his mother, my so-called nanny, kept her head bowed, her hands trembling as she held Junior close. I'm just tired, I said, my voice barely steady. It's been a long day. Michael's eyes lingered on me, suspicious, but he didn't press further. He set his suitcase down and went to wash his hands. I exhaled shakily, my heart pounding against my ribs. The nanny looked at me once, her eyes begging, "Keep the secret, not yet." That night, after Michael fell asleep, I couldn't close my eyes. My mind replayed every detail: the locket, the lullaby, her confession. My chest ached with questions. If she truly was my mother-in-law, why had Michael buried her existence with lies? What danger did she mean? I finally slipped out of bed and tiptoed to the sitting room. She was there, awake, sitting quietly as if she hadn't moved since the evening. Her eyes lifted to mine, tired but resolute. "You must tell me the truth now," I whispered fiercely. "Everything, no more half words. If you want me to protect your secret, I need to know why you are here, why Michael must not know yet." Her eyes clouded with sorrow, and for a moment I thought she might refuse, but then she sighed deeply, as though releasing years of pain. "I will tell you," she said softly, "but when you hear it, you may hate me even more." I swallowed hard. "Tell me anyway." She began. "Michael's father, my husband, was not the man people thought he was. To the world, he was a respected man, a businessman, a leader in the village, a man of honor. But behind closed doors, he was part of a dark society, a cult that demanded sacrifices for wealth and power." I gasped, covering my mouth. She continued, her voice trembling. "When Michael was born, the cult demanded his life. They said our first son must be offered to seal his father's rise. But I refused. I hid Michael. I ran with him, defying his father and the cult. They called me a curse, a betrayer. They swore I would never return. His father told him I abandoned him, but the truth is, I left to save him." Tears burned my eyes as I listened. My chest tightened with every word. "I lived in hiding for years," she whispered, her hands twisting in her lap. "I watched from afar as Michael grew. When his father finally died, poisoned by the same men he once called brothers, I thought it was over, but it wasn't. The cult still exists, and they will come for Michael one day, because blood debts do not vanish." Silence pressed heavily between us. I was shaking, torn between rage, pity, and terror. Rage that Michael had been lied to all his life. Pity for this woman who carried such pain. Terror that my husband, the man I loved, was still in danger from something he knew nothing about. I sat down slowly. "Why didn't you tell him? Why hide for so long?" Her face crumpled with grief. "Because he hates me. He believes I abandoned him. If I tell him now, he will not listen. He will push me away and I will lose the chance to protect him. But you are his wife. He trusts you. You can keep him safe until the right time." Her words cut into me like blades. Me? Protect Michael from shadows I could barely understand? Before I could respond, a small sound made us both turn. Michael was standing at the doorway. My heart dropped. His face was unreadable, his eyes cold. "Protect me from what?" he asked quietly. I froze. He had heard everything. The nanny, his mother, rose slowly to her feet, her body trembling. "Michael," she whispered. But he cut her off, his voice sharp. Don't you dare say my name." The pain in his voice cracked my soul. "All my life," he said bitterly, "I thought you were dead. I cried for you. I begged God to bring you back. And now you stand here alive, spinning stories about cults and sacrifices? Do you know what you did to me? You left me in that house with that monster." His words lashed at her, and she fell to her knees weeping. "I didn't leave you. I saved you. I left to protect you from him, from them. You were the only reason I survived." His face twisted with anger, but I could see the cracks forming in his eyes, the little boy inside him who had longed for a mother's arms. I couldn't take it anymore. "Michael," I said softly, stepping toward him. "I saw the locket. I heard the lullaby. She is telling the truth. I can feel it. She is your mother." He shook his head violently, but tears slipped down his cheeks. His fists clenched at his sides. "You should have told me," he whispered hoarsely. "You should have fought for me." "I did fight for you," she cried. "I fought every day, with every breath, just to keep you alive. And now I am here, not to ask for forgiveness, but to warn you they will come for you, Michael. They never forget. And if they cannot take you, they will take your son." At that, my heart stopped. Junior. The thought of those faceless men, those cultists reaching for my little boy, sent terror coursing through my veins. Michael's face changed too. The anger was still there, but now it was mixed with fear, with the heavy weight of a father's love. He turned away, gripping his head with both hands. For a long moment, none of us spoke. The air was thick with grief, anger, and unspoken love. Finally, Michael faced her again, his voice raw. "If what you say is true, then you cannot stay hidden. You cannot be a shadow in this house. You will stay, but not as a nanny, as my mother. But if you ever lie to me again, if I ever find out you twisted the truth, I will bury you myself." Her sobs filled the room as she bowed her head. "Thank you, my son. Thank you." I felt tears streaming down my own cheeks. For the first time, I saw a broken family taking its first step towards healing. But even in that fragile moment of reunion, I knew one thing for certain: our lives would never be the same again. The past had claws, and it would not release us easily. That night, as I lay beside Michael, his hand clutching mine, I realized I had learned something powerful. Family is not always gentle. It can wound, it can scar, it can bury truths in silence, but it is also the bond that saves us, even when we don't want saving. And as long as I lived, I would fight to protect mine.